Coming to you live, this is the Alpha Nerds Podcast.
Hello.
What's going on, everybody? Once again, here we are, the Alpha Nerds Podcast. I am your host, ABN, and I am followed with the one and only Twiz. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. How are you doing, sir?
I am present on the count of four. And, unfortunately, we apologize, ladies. The British are not coming.
The Redcoats are coming. The Redcoats are coming.
Yeah, so in this case,
they're coming, you hear?
Exactly. The British are not invading at this time. However, if you are watching us today, you will see this beautiful rendition of Benediction on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You are very welcome. And coming to us running back from this crazy mission chasing over our soup eels and shrimps on Barbies, we have the one and only Dean. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How you doing?
I am also here.
Is your tummy all full?
Oh, yes. So very much.
All right,
Okay.
so Twiz, what have you been up to, man? Some more Fortnite or what?
Well, you know I've been Fortnite. We're season 2's coming to a close. We got about 12 hours left. I'm just ready to get this podcast done and over with and in the book, so I can get back to Fortnite and try to pump up my battle pass until season 3 begins later tonight, tomorrow morning, something like that.
Oh, well, I guess I can somewhat applaud your priorities. Now, Dean, what have you been up to, good sir, other than not being here on the podcast? And we don't appreciate X-Men Origins Wolverine. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. I'm the reason. I've been playing a lot of Need for Speed Payback on PlayStation 4.
Oh, wow.
I've always liked the Need for Speed franchise, and I just thought I'd give out the new Need for Speed a go, and so far I'm very happy with it. It kind of reminds me of the old school Origins or Most Wanted. You guys remember that?
I do.
But yeah, a lot of fun. Can't give you my full overview of it because I still am playing, but so far so good.
That's what's up. Yeah, I unfortunately have been not as gaming and streaming at all this week, really, and that's obviously my fault. I have no excuses. I apologize. I did play, however, a little bit of Injustice 2 over the weekend, and I have to say it was on sale. So if you haven't played that game and you were thinking about wanting to play it, if you enjoyed Injustice 1, by all means, buy that game, because I've been really enjoying it as a fighting game, and of course its storyline, which is obviously coupled with a comic book series, if anyone did not know, which Twiz has given his stamp of approval for that particular Injustice series. So if you can, check it out.
I played the old one.
Yeah, that's why I say they really expounded on the story, which I was surprised. I didn't expect, obviously, with a fighting game that I would have more story-driven content going on, but they definitely brought it home, and it was really good.
Well, see, what I really liked about the second one, I haven't got a chance to play it, but yeah, watching and seeing what's coming out with it, is the inclusion of a lot of characters that are super familiar to us comic fans, but maybe not so much to people who aren't super familiar with comics,
right?
Like Atrocitus,
yes,
and in his sidekick, the cat. You don't understand how awesome that was. When we first saw it, we all lost our minds here in the comic world.
Yeah.
Because that's just awesome.
Yeah, it was a really cool rendition. It was really well done. Voicing is good. I think the only complaint I really have about the Injustice series is probably Superman's face. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but Superman's face just bothers me to no end. Maybe because I have a set standard that his face has to be slimmer or something. I have no idea. No idea why, but it's kind of like one of those faces that you just want to punch. That's kind of how I feel. Yeah, like mine. I mean, obviously when you look at mine, you just want to club it with any type of blunt object that's nearby, and that's how I feel for him. So we have that going. We do have some interesting things going on in the gaming world. It's a little we are in kind of a not a very large release window time frame, and then of course E3 is on the horizon. Everybody's kind of booting up all the really big stuff for E3. I know, Dean, you wanted to talk a little bit about what we talked about yesterday with Intel and AMD.
Not the Intel AMD per se. Hold on a second. Let me get my.
Oh, it was the optimization for the Intel.
Yes, I believe that's one of them. But just give us a minute. Let me give us a minute. Sorry, I apologize, guys. I'm just trying to remember.
He's having to move all the marsupials that are all over the place.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Crocodiles and stuff that all live in every Australian's home.
You guys just don't understand the sacrifices I have to make for
that. I do not envy you, sir. You are a
true hero.
You are.
Okay, yeah. I got it. I got it, guys. I got it.
Yay. Congratulations.
Yay.
We're proud of you.
You have pudding.
Yeah. I got pudding. But I am not sharing pudding.
All right, hit us with that. Hit us with that knowledge, Dean. What we got?
On the new direction that Intel's headed into, like, honestly, it's starting to think, like, you really don't even need a graphics card when you build a PC. Like, you really don't, because Intel's gone to that direction that they're giving you so much powerful onboard graphics, you're not going to really need a graphics. Like when you're building a new machine, half the time you need a new graphics card with your new build. But the way Intel's gone about it, it's like, nope, you don't really need one. We'll just give you the most processing power we can put into a little chipset.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use the onboard graphics.
Yeah, I know
which
that's
I'm
what
very happy. That's what they're aiming for.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about with the AMD and Intel working together, because that's kind of what they're doing, is essentially merging their processors. So one is CPU driven while the other can be basically onboard GPU.
Absolutely.
So I mean, like, that has really cool ramifications. Like I said last time, with things like the Nintendo Switch, like hardware like that. Not necessarily the Switch itself, but hardware in that genre can really benefit from something like that.
Well, it'll be good, because then all the fanboys out there who go, oh, Intel, oh, AMD, they can get off the high horse, because they're both working together on this, so they can't exactly be biased as well.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's a really good premise.
But we'll see what the future holds with Intel and AMD. Like, hopefully they continue to work together if this project and new product takes off.
Yeah, I see good things coming with it.
But again, as anything, it'll be expensive.
Well, of course. I mean, they're both they both want to get their parts of it. They want to get, their particular profit margins from it.
Absolutely.
So I could imagine, especially starting out, from the get-go, it'll be really expensive, and then over time it'll eventually move itself down, unless cryptocurrency people get a hold of it. Then it'll never be cheap, and so we'll just kind of all give up on life.
Well, look, I'm not sure. I'm not one of those people that's crypto mining or anything like that, or even spent any time on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really pushing the market bad in Australia. Like, a graphics card was $600, now it's jumped to like $1,300 market, because people are just buying bulk graphics card, even from across your pond, like a pond,
mm-hmm.
Because people just want to make a lot of money, and it's like pushing the market to make people spend more money on a computer part that they really need, but they can't do it because there's people pushing the market too high.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. It was anywhere from $500 to $600. Now most 1080 Ti's are going to run you $900, $1,200. It's out of control.
Well, that's how much they usually are here. Like, we're selling them for like $1,200, $1,300. But the thing is, it's still one of those things. Like, you don't want to go out spending $1,300 on a graphics card when you can spend $600.
Absolutely.
And as well, last week's note, I require that THQ has acquired rights back to Saints Row.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm very keen to see where that takes off. Like, Saints Row has always been a game franchise I've always played, but to be honest, I just hope they go back to the old origins in the sense, because it went from a street game to being superheroes, and super agents if you played Agents of Mayhem in any way, or even played any other games in general. But I just hope
superhero. I like that superhero thing. It was a blast.
Really? I don't know. They're losing their formula. They're doing too much. It's like GTA versus Saints Row. Like, I love GTA. I also like Saints Row, but Saints Row is like gone too crazy. It's
well,
like
this is what I was talking about last week. I actually like Saints Row better because it embraces the ridiculousness of what they're doing and what you're playing in that game.
oh,
Whereas
absolutely.
GTA takes itself way too seriously in a
No,
lot of aspects. There are a few things that they're like, okay, this is dumb, but here you go.
Right.
No, well, like every other game, they have the formulas. Like one game has this, one other game has that.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do give applause to with Saints Row is having to create your character. I love creating my own character. I love putting my character in that element, like designing the way he looks, the way he sounds, the way he walks. You can't do that with GTA.
Right.
Like, I would love that to be a possibility with GTA in the future, that you can actually create your character the way you want. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely understand.
But
well, I mean,
we'll see what
they actually have something like that in some of the GTA RP mods, where people play for hours, and you can go in there and modify and create your character however you play, and just go and have fun and be who you want to be and create a character and go from there. So
yeah, but with those mods, that leads to a possibility of Rockstar just taking with gun. No, banned, and then you just spend $60 on a game, and then you're banned, and then you're limited to what you can and what you can't do.
Right.
You know, I love nothing mod, like back on GTA 4, like with Grand Theft Auto 4, you were able to do the mods and there was no problem. But now it's like, nope, you do mods, you get banned. Simple.
well, they're not like true mods where the game's being modded and you still play through the game. I'm talking about things like the SOE server, the State of Emergency server, or No Pixel, where you're actually it's a separate server where you have to have the base game, but their server's set up in such a way that the code's cracked and where you're not playing the game exactly. You're playing a version of the game. You're actually role playing and role playing out a storyline with other people within the server.
That is very true.
So it's not the same thing, but it's there, ish.
Ish, yeah.
Ish.
I guess we go ahead and check out some of this news that we got going. I think the first thing I probably want to hit on, because it seems like every week that goes by, it's like we keep having to come back here. Microsoft, of course, the Xbox chief is calling for more inclusivity and an end to toxic gamers. This has kind of all been slammed together in a large keynote speech that he gave in the Game Developers Conference Party in 2016. He kind of talked about the same kind of thing. Just like we were talking about last time, how Microsoft has had these issues, people called him out on it, and everything else. He kind of came out and admitted, saying things like, "We needed a reboot." Talking about the botched launch of the Xbox One. And, of course, like I said, he kind of gives anecdotes along the way, saying things like morale was at a low, we kept missing big trends in fighting and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting to hear someone come out and tell us that there's actually infighting and things going on within their industry or within their actual business. The funny thing I did pick out, and like I said, we're not, obviously this podcast is not political, so if you hear political, go away. He did say that game companies excel at creating worlds, talking about things like Nintendo's Legend of Zelda series and Sony's Uncharted series, and then as well as Microsoft's own Halo series. But he said game worlds that fail to embrace the diversity of players will struggle to succeed in a world where more and more people are playing games. That is where I completely disagree. It's kind of this weird consumers too right on this part, because they're kind of listening to a consumer saying, well, why don't we do this and why don't we do that? It's kind of like, take Blizzard, for example. Blizzard does this, I think, fairly well. They take criticisms, they take comments and things like that. They bring it back, they mull over it, and then they present what they think is going to be the best route for that. What some of these companies are like, Phil Spencer, the way they're talking is that they're just going to take it all and implement exactly what's being said. And like me and Todd were talking about before the show, you're never going to be able to touch a game series like The Legend of Zelda. A consumer will not be able to tell Nintendo on how to create or modify a Legend of Zelda series. Period. Especially if they're, a Western country. It's not happening. They're a Japanese company. They've been doing this for over 100 years. You think they're really going to start listening to you now, other than creating the demand that's required? No, they're going to keep the formula that's made it successful in the first place.
Exactly.
Well, and see, here's the other thing, and this is my message to Mr. Spencer, who I'm sure is listening right now.
Skynet.
Exactly. Go have a conversation with Axel Alonso of Marvel, formerly of Marvel Comics, who did exactly what you're talking about doing with games. He did it with Marvel Comics. Their sales tanked. He's fired. And they're now trying to undo all the garbage of inclusivity. Just make good games and shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not here for a platform. It's not something that we have to, die on the hill for.
Exactly. And I don't think that's political at all. I don't think any of this is political at all.
No.
I'm not here to have a political discussion. I'm here to play a game. I don't care. You know what? I almost never look at my character icon in the game. I don't care what it looks like, what color, gender, or anything. Can it kill the thing in front of me? And if it can't, then give me the next icon. I'm moving on. Is this a good game?
Yeah. Good examples of this. I mean, Legend of Zelda was probably one of the perfect ones, because, a lot of people think, oh, that's way too old fashioned, boy saves girl kind of thing. Obviously they didn't play Breath of the Wild. So I'll just, go play Breath of the Wild and let me know. But it all revolves around the game itself. It's because if they care so much about characters, then it has to be, they're normally pointing at RPGs. That's normally what they're always pointing at. Like, oh, look at this RPG. It needs to be like this. Look at the Tomb Raiders. Look at the Horizon Zero Dawns. Look at those games that create stories and characters that we want to play, not because of that, because that character is this or that. It's because of it's a good character and a good story, nothing more.
Exactly.
What do you think about that, Dean?
Well, that's exactly right. Like, you can't touch a game that is perfect. Like, we're not caring about the color, your whatever, like, we don't care what color, we don't care if you're Asian, white, black, whatever. Sorry if that's political correct for saying that, but at the end of the day, we don't care about that. We're here to play a game. We're not spending $60 on a game based on what color skin you are.
Yeah.
Or in any case, what the person looks like,
Mm-hmm.
We're here to play a game, and that's what we're paying the $60, not to pick the game apart and go, no, it has to be this and that.
Yeah, it's the silly stuff. When you hear,
it's the silly stuff that game company like big executives think, oh, no, we got this, we got that. It's like, no, we're here to play a game, and that's what we're paying for. We're not paying for you guys to screw up our gaming experience.
Yeah, what I think is happening is that developers are thinking in a one particular mindset, and then, for insert, we want to do it for this reason kind of thing. Then it's presented to the executives and the board as to say, well, we're going to tap into an untapped market. Normally that's the kind of thing you're talking about when you're trying to create something new. You're bringing it to them saying, hey, this is an untapped market that we want to get to, even though that market doesn't exist. They're saying, oh, well, this will be so inclusive for this particular market, this, that, and the other. when, especially if a market is 0.01%, that is the absolute worst market. That is, these are companies. They're here to make money. Why would you target a company that's 0.01? Just like Nintendo with the Wii, right? When they did it, they broad stroked the entire market. They didn't just say, you know, we're specifically targeting this market. They broad stroked the entire market, and that's what made something like the Wii so successful. But with something like that, you're trying to, you know, force the square peg into the circle hole, and it's just it doesn't work out. And then they wonder, well, why didn't it sell? Why wasn't that good? Because it was a crappy game, or, you know, it all comes out in the wash. That's why companies like Nintendo with, you know, super strong IPs, or Sony with super strong IPs, as long as they keep the formula, it's guaranteed every time.
Absolutely, but you need to let people like game developers do what they do best, not have other bureaucrats like thinking because they're in some high seat they can just go, "No, we want it this way." No, you let the game developers do what they do best.
Yeah, we're here to play their dream, right? So they kind of dream this game into existence. We're here to play their passion, what they've been passionate about all these years. And you could tell when a game comes off that way, when you're playing through it and you can kind of feel the passion of the development. And some of them, you know, like an Andromeda or something like that you could tell started really well and then just got slammed with crap and then got thrown at us. I'm not saying Andromeda is a really bad game, but it's, you know, with things like that, when it ends up it's unfinished, it feels clunky. You know, these people that work in this industry don't just show up and just like, oh, you know, I'm just here to develop games, guys. You know, no, I mean, they all get hired. You know, they're all trained for this. They all work really hard. They're super passionate. So you could tell when a game comes out passionate. It just shows in the gameplay and in the story. But
you know what I think it is, honestly. You know, the whole Gamergate thing has died down. They're getting bored.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's cause some controversy and get everyone all wound up again and say this, and let's have some fun again.
Yeah, it'll probably happen with another major release, something like a God of War or something like that. They're gonna find something silly to go on about, and it's just it just ruins everyone's fun, and we just can't have nice things because of it.
Exactly.
But a couple of other updates. These are real quick. Fortnite and Twiz, I guess something's happening with Fortnite. What's going on there?
Okay, so basically, Fortnite's broken down into seasons, and they last about three months. This new season starts. Last I looked, it was 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I might be sick at work tomorrow. I don't know.
Fair enough.
They start the new season, which will have in Fortnite. There's what's known as the Battle Pass. You have a Battle Pass, and you purchase it for V-Bucks. You purchase the V-Bucks for real bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not expensive. It's $10, and basically what that allows you to do is using a series of achievements and everything, you get cosmetic skins. You know, new skins, new parachutes, new forging weapons, things of that nature. It doesn't give you any game advantage, but it's kind of like a fun thing.
Yeah.
You know, like the top tier one is the Black Knight currently. So you know, if you're in a town and you're up against a Black Knight, he's been playing a while. This guy's gonna be good. You better have your stuff together because he's gonna take it to you.
Right.
So you get that sense of achievement. So it kind of gives you that sense. So that's dropping. But in this new update, they're also doing a couple really important things. They're eliminating what's known as the double pump strategy.
Mm-hmm.
In the game, what people will do is they'll set up two pumps side by side. Instead of having to go through the action of pumping it and getting the next round, they'll swap to the other weapon, which is already ready to load, fire, swap back to the other weapon, which is somehow magically reloaded itself, fire, and switch back and forth. Well, that was a really unfair advantage to a lot of people. So basically, they're causing you to have to pump the shotgun in between before you can fire another round. So they're eliminating that. So that's gone. They're also adding something called turbo building, which will allow, because one of the most important parts of Fortnite is building up and building bases and defensive building. So they're going to add turbo building, which is going to be able to cause you to build faster, but it uses your resources much quicker.
Okay.
And the other really important thing, and this is one of the most frustrating things in the game, is when you're building, they're going to allow you to be able to build through objects. Previously, if there was a car in the way or a tree, it just happens to be inadvertently in your way, you couldn't build there. You had to like move and reconfigure how you're going to do whatever you're going to do. Now they're going to allow it so you can just build right through that tree or right through that car, which is going to be very cool. So as soon as you finish downloading it, Chris, I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Oh, fair enough. I see what you did there.
I see what I did there.
Interesting segue. I see how you just went straight to me and you left Dean out there.
Well, Dean will end up on the Aussie. Dean will end up on the Aussie server halfway through. The circle's coming in. He's going to be like, "Oi, I got to go get a shrimp on the Barbie," and then go walk about in the middle of the game. So,
excuse me, I don't appreciate you saying such hateful things. I really don't appreciate that. Because that is not true, but probably is true as well.
Well, the funny thing you say that about Fortnite, apparently PUBG is kind of changing some stuff up as well.
So I've seen.
Yeah. PUBG is updating the patch notes to include 2 new crates that are coming to the game, as well as some changes to the PUBG economy. So I know that they're wanting to limit the amount as far as what you need in order to open up crates and different things like that. And I think the biggest change is Fever crates, which will require the player to purchase a key, will now be selectable on the weekly crate screen, as well as which brought this on was people complained about the current system. It would randomly reward you with crates. You had to pay to open, things like that. Kind of not too bad pay to play type of mentality, or trying to get that kind of stuff. But not a bad change there. Do you think that's something you're going to enjoy, Dean, or is that something you care absolutely nothing about?
Honestly, I care nothing about. Like, the fact is, in my reality is this: if you want to pay to open your crates, do it. If you don't want to, then don't. Don't change something that already works. Like, you don't have to change the way you do things. At the same time, you can't force someone to spend money in opening crates. Like, you can't force, like, the same way you can't force someone to pay taxes. Like, you decide what to do, but if, at the end of the day, if you want to do it, you'd have to do it.
Fair enough.
You can't force someone to open something that they don't want to. But at the same time, a game developer's job is to find other ways to make money continuously, because it's a working market.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think all of us are here pretty much said our piece about how, getting crates and doing other things like that. I think we're all pretty much on the same ball field that do it if you do, don't if you don't. However, it should never be designed in a way that affects gameplay or that it requires you.
Exactly.
Once it does those two things, then it needs to go. It doesn't need to be legislated out of existence. It doesn't need to be taxed out of existence. Just let the market do itself. If you people out there and you can't control yourself for buying a bunch of crates or buying whatever from a particular game, you know who we're all talking about. I mean, all of us are guilty of that at some point in our lives.
Well, it was the same thing with Payday 2 when they did the microtransactions.
Mm-hmm.
People weren't happy with it, but people still played the game.
Yeah.
People were still happy to play the game, and people are still happy to play the game. But end of the day, if it starts making this harder for people to play the game, then yes, that could cause a big issue with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're still able to play the game like we are.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, no one's forcing you to buy the crates. No one's forcing you to spend the money. It's really up to the person behind the computer screen.
Absolutely.
It's probably mainly they're worried about is the little kids who steal daddy's credit card. and spending money on crates.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because that's kind of about correct about how it would work. But yeah, I mean, yeah, but
There's always a but.
Yeah, it's a lot of but. I mean, other small things that are going on. Destiny 2's modifying their roadmap. So if you've been playing Destiny 2 at all, you could probably Google it and find out. They're really just modifying, still moving around all these changes. My quick 2 cents on that would probably be they need to do something. They need to do something really big or really quick. I know development takes time, but at the same time, if they don't turn this around, this will be a huge flop for them. It came out of the box strong, but if it continues this downward spiral as it looks like it's doing, it's going to be almost completely dead. And I feel terrible because it was a really fun game. But the next expansion already has been announced to be coming out in May. So as we get closer to May, we'll probably see some things. I imagine Bungie's probably running all around like NASA just launched a rocket kind of thing. Freaking out, trying to figure out what everything's going. Apollo 11's about to crash kind of stuff. But we'll see. Like I said, I just have to see it because it's not enough to bring me back. But I mean, I think we're kind of coming towards the end. This one was a little bit shorter for certain parties. Dean, that took a minute.
Dean.
Excuse me. That is just rude now.
Such a terrible cough.
You know what, Dean? Don't worry about it. It's not your fault. You know whose fault it is?
It's Ben's.
My parents.
No, it's Ben's fault.
It's absolutely Ben's fault. What we need to do, voice of God, Benediction, at Benediction. From this point forward, we'll link it in the Discord once this is over. At Benediction for all things that you have issues with in your life.
And if you're not happy with the length of the video, take it up with at Benediction.
Absolutely, at Benediction with all life issues. He may not have made X-Men Origins because Dean did that. He may be.
I heard he made Catwoman. I heard he's responsible for producing that movie Catwoman.
You talking about the Halle?
No, I blame him for Tobey Maguire. No, I blame him for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He was like a 40-year-old man playing a high school student.
I think he's more of a Spider-Man 3 director.
Yeah.
No. Yes. He was all the Spider-Mans from Tobey Maguire saga.
So
I blame him for that.
Yeah, and
I blame him for fuel being too high. I blame him for...
Actually, you know what? What I heard, this is just a rumor. I heard at Benediction actually created and glued on the bat nipples to the bat suit.
Dear God.
Damn. That monster.
At Benediction. That you monster.
Yeah. He may have also casted George Clooney.
Oh. The George Clooney?
The George Clooney.
Damn.
So, once again, if you have any issues, gripes or complaints, make sure to at Benediction in Discord make sure to let him know how you feel.
If you've got any love or donations, it's at Betamax_13.
Right.
On Twitter.
Yeah, and if you can't see our name...
Hashtag replace the potato.
Right. I mean, you can find us all on Discord at ABNMP269, and just like Twiz said, at Betamax_13, at Benediction, and at Dean Oxhill.
Dina X Hill, get it right. Like I didn't ask for much, but at least get my name right. Gosh.
Crikey, I'm so sorry. But
I've had it up to here with your incompetence saying my name. I've had it up to here, mate.
You know what would help? I bet
What's
you he
that?
could say I bet he could say your name right if you just said the one line that we want you to say.
Right. If you would say the one phrase, I would forgive
you. I'll never sell out. I'll never sell out.
All right, well,
come on, say it.
So he apparently he will remain as the X-Men Origins director.
And if people have a problem with it, they can write to me at DNAXL.
That's right.
Okay, if you're not gonna say that line, will you at least, critique my knife?
No.
The knife?
You haven't even. You expect me to do all these things for you, but you haven't even bought me dinner yet. Like, I'm not some cheap. No, I don't even know how to feel about it.
But like I said, if y'all got anything at benediction for anything issues, and I think that about wraps up our show, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be here back on Saturday at around the same time frame. Just make sure, unless people go run out and get food and do all those other things. So, but Saturday is the day. Stay tuned until next time.
Peace.
Later.
Peace.
Leroy Jenkins.
Can I get up now?